all these countries, when you go, you'll find frescoes, you'll find sculptures and things, and you see the boats out there and the people on the boats who are, rowing or taking the stuff out of the boats, the porters and all that. The features are like the people of South India. The jewelry that the
so there's enormous influence. The scripts to this day is derived from Pallava scripts. And unfortunately, this history is simply not taught. Now, of course, I'm part of the redoing of the NCERT textbooks. And, as part of that, we are inserting some of this history back. But just to tell you, the way history was told to us was that as if we were just a passive people. In fact, it's not just the impression you get from the background. This is something explicitly written. And I'm not talking about colonial history. So colonial times, obviously, I can understand. They wanted to tell you that, you have always been occupied. So they invented the Aryan invasion theory. But even later on basically said, you Indians, you never cross the oceans. You are somehow sitting at home waiting for us to come and give you civilization. Now, that is true of the 19th century. But even in the 21st century, books are written with this logic. So, for example, there's a very common book by somebody called Charles Allen, who passed away a couple of years ago. He published a book as recently as 2017 called Coromandel. So it's a history of our coastline, the Coromandel coast. So it's a modern book, popular. You'll get it in any major bookshop, Bahari Sons or wherever. And what does he say in the very first chapter in the second paragraph? He says basically the Indians have had no interaction with the ocean except for a brief period when the Cholas raided Southeast Asia. Now, the Cholas raiding Southeast Asia is still taught, is a passing reference in Indian textbooks. But basically, the impression you will get is that our interaction with the oceans is that one Chola raid in 1025. We did nothing before that and nothing after that. Entirely a misrepresentation of our history. What is going on here is that you are being fed a history where you are made to feel that you have really had no part in world history. You just, maybe a large population, but basically you were hanging around doing nothing.
Waiting to be colonized.
And that other people. Now, this kind of, I would say, Orientalism is a very important part of how global narratives are controlled. So be under no impression that this happens just like that.
No.
There is a fair amount of investment that goes into creating these narratives. Now, in recent times, you will have seen some withdrawal of this. Some of these Western writers are beginning to talk a little bit about how great India may have been in ancient times, etc. But do remember that it is a controlled retreat in the face of evidence put together by a new generation of Indian writers. But it is not the case that they have really changed their mind. What they are doing, be very, very clear, is a controlled retreat.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा.
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है.
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब.
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप.
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI. It does not lie.